Good morning. Good morning to the spiritual mysteries of life. And today I'd like to thank Neshi for hosting the show and bringing everything together for us. And I am so pleased to be here today. Today I'm going to be speaking about the mystical experiences in life. And as I'm doing that, I want you to come into a consciousness and just hold yourself, because as I'm going through, I'm going to spirit is going to lead this today really strong, because when I got up this morning, I was up at 5. They got me up at 5 o'clock this morning and said, we need to talk. We got some things we want you to do. And so here we are. So it's a little bit of a kind of a, just a real spiritual class, and I hope that you will enjoy it, because it is going to be totally spirit driven today. And not that they all aren't, but this one is particularly so. And if you see me, I hope I don't zoom out. They might take me, I don't know, but sometimes they do. And if they do, just bear with it. But today, with our mystical experiences, my spiritual journey is God's journey within me. And I would like you to think about that. When you're in your oneness, in that quietness of your atonement, when you're in tune with yourself, think of the journey that you're on. This spiritual journey that we are on is God's journey with you. It's with me. And I'm here for the love of all creation. Can you think about that for just a second? Think that you are here for the love of all creation. This very moment is for whose sake? For God's sake. It's not for ours. It's for His. And everything that you do in service of God, everything that you do is in service of God. I don't care what it is. When you get up in the morning and you say, oh, I've got all these things I need to do. And you say to yourself, I'm going to have God in my heart. If it's cooking, if it's whatever it is that you're doing, if you're fixing your car, if you're working out in the yard, and you have God in your heart, all things that you do are of service. If you talk to somebody and you talk to them with the love of unconditional love that's in your heart, those things are what God wants us to do. And everything, no matter what you do, just think of that we are in service for your creator, our creator. I am here for God. I'm not here for Connie. I am here for God. And that is an awakening. That is something that is perfect. When you think about it, and you hear about people talk about the veil. Well, we are the veil. And we have to awaken ourselves to what is already here. You see, the world is already perfect. It's in divine order. We just are in this physical element, and we can't figure that out yet. And it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? We know in our hearts that divine love, divine order, divine principle, they're all there. We just have to tune into it. And that's not something you can do with a light switch. You just can't go over and flip the switch and say, oh, okay, I'm ready to go. That isn't how it works. It's taken me a whole lifetime. I encourage people who are young, that have those busy lives, to slow it down. Because you need to know to be. And you stop and think about that 2-letter word. I've used that a lot lately. Just to be. And think of yourself as the seed of fruit. You are the seed. Now, we're going to talk about that seed in a little while. But knowing that that inner force of oneness and the beingness, it is like being in the very heart of life. And beloved, whenever, whatever it is in your consciousness is indeed brought into manifestation. So whatever you have in your consciousness, it comes forward. And you'll think, well, why did that happen? In your consciousness, you may have manifested it. So whatever is in your consciousness, whether it be in the human form or the Christ state, when you change your lives and grow in understanding, you first must become the new consciousness. You have to search within yourself. And that which you know becomes manifested in you. It's an inner knowing, be it positive or negative. It is our creation. Now, when I thought about that, I thought, I wonder. Now, and I think back on my life, and there's some things that weren't just 100%. I felt bad and I hurt and all of that stuff. Well, I thought, gee, did I create that? Oh, was that already written in the books that I had to go through that? That's a lesson I didn't learn. So now I'm looking back at those things. And that's what I'm asking you to do, is to go in retrospect of yourself and say, if something wasn't handled correctly or whatever, go back and shine unconditional love on it and place it put it in a little box or a jar, and you can say, okay, I'm done with this. I have loved this, and I've taken this negative and turned it into a positive. You've heard me talk about that before, where I spin things, and I'll take, and when something is a negative, and I'll try to do a spin on it to make it a positive. That in itself is so important, because life isn't it's just what it is. But when you're here in this spiritual body and we're in the physical, we have to deal with that physical. The earth is already into the fifth dimension. I live most of my life in the fifth dimension, and I have a hard time, because then I'll be doing things and I'll think, oh, I gotta back up the bus and go back into the fourth or the third, because maybe the folks I'm dealing with are still in the third and fourth, and it's like, oh, I can hardly stand it. And then I think, oh, come on, Connie, you can stand it, and you can shove love and light on a whole situation and try to bring those folks back up, bring them back on with you to the fifth dimension. That's what we got to do. That's our job. And so the one thing in life is the one mind. You are with it. You got it. You got your mind. Whatever portion of your mind that you choose. I choose divine mind, and I identify with that. And that is what you are. It's divine mind. It's a knowingness. It's knowing you are divine. All power is yours. Now I'm going to stop a second there, and I'm going to share something with you, because I went to my doctor yesterday, and some of you know that I've had a little health issue. Well, I got my blood results back, and I'm perfect. He could not believe. He said, Connie, you have healed yourself. And I said, no, I didn't heal myself. I said, God healed me. And he smiled, and he said, now, Connie, he said, you don't have to take any more medications. And I thought, no pills. I don't have to go to the pharmacy and get pills anymore. Now, isn't that just the coolest thing? I mean, and he said, because most folks that are my age will just opt to take a pill. And I chose not to. And I don't take any prescription medications at all. I don't take any Aleve. I was addicted to Aleve, and I don't take that anymore for all my joints and all that. So I don't have to do that anymore. And that's just, when I'm talking to you about this, I'm trying to share with you that your mind, and it took me a long time to figure this out, but it is ours. The power is within us, and we can do it if we choose to. Know that there is no place in your mind or in your life for inharmony or negativity. You just can't be there. And I've kind of told that to my kids, and you say, oh, how could you do that? Well, I did. I can't be in your drama. I'm sorry. I love you, and there's nothing that'll ever change that. But I can't live in your drama. Not this time. Now, I used to get it right involved into, and then I thought to myself, whoa, backing this up. Not going to do that. Not anymore. And so those are things that you have to decide for yourself if that's what you want to do. And when I do that, I send them unconditional love. I do. I send that vibration out there, and I say, and I tell them that. I said, I love you, but I can't live the heartaches and stuff that you guys are going through. Can't do that. And so that's just the way it is. And you can all do that and not feel guilty about that. And you are the creator of all which you hold in your consciousness. Your state of being is that which you have conceived and created. No, I just said that, but I'm going to say it again. So catch the vision, visualize it, that you want a divine life, and use it. Use it as the mold to be fulfilled within yourself. Visualize it. And you are the creator of your own environment and your own circumstances. But remember, you are also universal. And you can experience all that is within the universe as you grow in understanding and in your ability to know and identify. And that's what I just said to you, is that I personally chose to step away from all of that. And doesn't mean that you don't love those folks. You just choose to live a different lifestyle. You just choose to be able to put yourself out there and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And what do you want to know? This knowing is a true mystical experience. The knowing, the inner knowing. Now, I'm going to stop right here because I want to read something from the Bible. And I was going to do that right in the beginning, but I guess Spirit, this is the time. So anyway, I'm going to open it up. And because this scriptures that I'm going to read to you has to do with what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me get there. Continue in prayer, or I'm reading out of Colossians chapter 4, verses 2 through 4. It says, continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving. Withal, praying also for us that God would open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds, that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. So those are, there he tells us that's what we have the ability to do that. And here in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 6, it's not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of Christ. And we are all servants of Christ, doing the will of God. Where? From the heart. So those are things that I'm wanting to just share with you so that you can know that even though we get things spiritually, that the Bible is here to show us. This is the avenue we're walking down. Now, in knowing that the reality that you will be able to bring into your own divine fulfillment is your reality. It's the use of the knowledge that you achieve, whether it's through study, whether it's through teachers. The internet is full of things, and it's okay to go in and look. But I always try to have a little discernment when I'm doing that, and try to, make sure that I make that it's okay with what needs to be done with me spiritually. And in my quiet moments, and I ask that you, in your quiet moments, identify yourself. Remember, I talked about the seed? Well, feel it completely, that you become it. And this becomes your awareness. Now, we're going to talk about that seed here in just a little bit. Now, you can grow into more advanced states of the Christ consciousness and being. But it's a very gradual unfoldment, but it can be done. And as you learn to be the outer expression of your true divine self, you are divine energy, you are divine mind, and divine creativity. Now, last week we talked about the pineal and the pituitary gland and the sacred substance. Now, the reason I talked today the way I did was to give you some insight, because to do the work that needs to be done is not easy. It's a self-discipline. The sacred substance that we are looking for or feeling in our system goes up and down the spinal column. But the seed lays dormant in the sacrum, in our lower abdomen. But once a month, that seed will travel and go up to the pineal and cross over into the thalamus. But those are things that you can read about, but I'm going to share with you my experience. Now, in September, I did a fasting, and I knew that my sun sign rise when I was born was in Libra, and I'm a Virgo, but it was in Libra. So I watch for that. Or is it in the moon? And when the time comes at the month of the new moon, that's when I did it in September. Just trying to think here. I went 3 days. I fasted for 3 days. And the first night in my meditation, it was quiet. And I thought, maybe nothing's going to happen. The second night, there was some activity there. But the third night was phenomenal. I'm going to try to do the very best I can to explain to you what happened to me. Now, when I laid down and I put myself in a meditative state, I thanked God for being with me for the 3 days of fasting. Now, some people can go much longer and do long fasts, but this was the very first time in my life that I did a 3-day fast. So I didn't know how my body was going to react to it. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. I can do this. I know I can. And so that third night, there were things shown to me that I can only tell you that there were people, my family, and another close friend's family showed up. I was so excited. I was crying because I thought, oh my gosh, all these people are here. What's going on? And for my father and mother and my grandfather and my grandmother, and oh my goodness sakes. And And I thought, okay, so they're all here. And one of the things that then it went from me recognizing the folks and getting that part of it. Then I saw they showed me, and I'm sure I saw it, is my pineal gland. And in that, there was color, and there were like thick strips, like almost antennas coming out. And they were, again, all these were in color, and they were all brilliant. It's a color that I've never seen. In essence, I thought it was a pinkish color, but I don't know that it was really pink. I just know that it's a color that I don't think I've ever seen in this world. And then there was a face. And the face, I don't know who the face was. I don't know if it was my higher self. I don't know. But I felt so at peace. And I heard, child, job well done. And I thought, oh, so in that processing of what I went through, and it's like you touch on a realm that you know is there, but it's like I'm there, and it brings you such peace and love that you can't even comprehend. It's so hard because that isn't something you are taught here in the earth plane in this lifetime with people. This is so phenomenal and so together. And so when there were so many things that went on at that point in time, and I was trying to explain it to somebody else, and I said, there's no words for me to express it. So when you don't have the words to express it in the English language, that it has to be a pretty phenomenal experience of really, that's your mystical experience. And so one of the things that I really want for you is to evaluate yourselves and go within. Now that, and of course we had the big full moon last night, and I went out there and took a picture of it. I just love it. And I thought, I got to take a picture of this. This is too cool. And I did that last month too. And I thought, well, I'll have a little thing going on there with the moon. But one of the things that I really get excited about is the energy. And I know that when I hear people say, well, this one's in retrograde and that one's in retrograde, I don't get into that. And I'll tell you, all I do is say, okay, if we're in retrograde, I'll just slow down. Well, I tried to do that in September, but I broke my wrist, right? Well, but anyway, there was a reason for that. And I still, to this day, I was kind of bummed out. And another thing is this weekend, if I were in New Hampshire, I would be ordained as a minister. But because I'm not there, I guess the ordination happens. They'll just send me the paperwork and say, there you go, girl. You're okay. You passed everything. So, and you know what? That was a wonderful experience, a wonderful 9 months or 10 months that we were together. And I learned and met some wonderful people. And so that just broadened my scope of people, knowing that if there's, if you have a problem, you can reach out to folks and they're there for you because we're like minds. And the same thing with Star Nations. We have a great core of people who work together and are sharing and loving and just reach out to each other. And I feel very blessed to be part of that. and it's a oneness. And when I was talking about the moon, okay, Spirit's right on me on this one. All right, I have to talk about the mother, because our mothers have such an influence on us as children. And let's say that, and I think I had the best mom in the world. She was astute enough to know that she had a child that was different than other kids. And so right from the get-go, she was very protective of me and explained things to me and said, now this is what we do and this is what we don't do, Connie, because people don't understand what you see. And so, but what I want you to know is that, let's say that if you didn't have a good relationship with your mom, and maybe your mom created I'm seeing someone here. I don't know who. I don't know the lady, but she's probably in her 40s. And she's saying that her mom was like a dictator and created a low self-esteem for her when she was a little girl. And it was really hard for her to come and deal with life. And sometimes we don't realize as mothers what an impact we have on our children who are gifted and who are so special, and not understanding where do they fit, and how it's like, how can my mom do those kind of things? Well, this is what I would suggest, and this is what I have spoken with the young lady who's on the other side, is to send love and light to your mom. She's in divine order. Everything is in divine order. You're over there now, and your life is now in divine order. Everything's been in divine order. Now you see what you didn't see when you walked the physical earth. Now you can see. And so your mom is still here. So send her lots of love and light and that unconditional love, because she needs the healing too. She didn't realize what she was doing. And when mothers, even with sons, they may not realize the impact that they have on their sons and how that will create for them the difficulties in life that they may have in relationships. So those are things that when Spirit shows me these, and when a spiritual entity comes into me and explains why she did what she did, and she just couldn't handle it anymore, I thought to myself, how sad is that? But she, again, when you stop and realize that we all wrote our outcome before we entered in, and the lessons that when we take an exit, sometimes no matter how it ends, whether it's a fast auto accident or however you leave this earth, and the things that you leave behind, all are lessons for the people who are left behind, and how they're going to deal with it and how they handle it. And as a love, the whole world is so we don't have any love. Seems like it just kind of went out the window. And so we need to help each other rekindle that unconditional love. Christ wanted us to love one another. That's what he said. Love one another. That's what I want you to do. And so when we process all the things that are going on in our lives, and we walk the road, and I hope that when you realize that when we walk the walk, you have to talk the talk, so to speak. And you just need to know that when you're working and trying to raise your Christ consciousness, that you just can't, it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work. And just knowing that that substance, that godly substance is within you. You don't have to go outside to find it. It's there. The seed is in you. It will travel up and it will cross over and it will be there. And your consciousness, your third eye will open. You just have to know that. And I'm not schooled enough to teach you how to do that. That's why I try to use my own analogy of myself, is to tell you what has happened with me. I haven't written any books on it, or anything like that. I just know from my own life's experience, and knowing that I have always, God is my beloved. I love him more than I love life itself. And that's where we have to be. We have to know in our hearts that no matter what comes at us, that we send back that negative with love. And it's hard, because you say, this is what, and I don't know if this is, my friend is watching or not, but I'm going to tell this little story. She thought that I got a job and I started working and I was doing a lot of things, and I wasn't as available as I used to be. And so consequently, I think she felt that I was just part of it. You know what I mean? Just, okay, I'm not your friend anymore, or something like that. I said, whoa. I said, you're still my friend. I still love you. What's going on here? But she felt that I didn't have the time for her, that I didn't care about her anymore. Well, that's not true at all. So I did make some time. I went and saw her. We had coffee. I didn't have coffee. She had coffee. I had tea, whatever. And the thing is, it was this sitting down and trying to set things straight and say, listen, I got a job. I'm working on my body. I've got all these things cooking, and I have my show. So I said, there's a lot of things I'm doing, and I'm pulling it all together, and I'm trying to get myself there. And I said, you're 80 years old, and I'm not too far behind you. So I mean, I have certain goals I want to hit in this life when I'm still here. Now, you guys, you go out drinking and doing your thing, and that's up. And I don't have a problem with that, but I can't do that anymore. So I can still go out, but I can't participate in those type of things. But even it's hard to be in that element. It's hard to be in that negative, what I call, when you go into where there's alcohol, it's kind of hard to differentiate sometimes, for me anyway. Not everybody has that problem, but I do. And I don't apologize for that. I just know that I can't be, it just isn't something that I function well in. So, but that's just me. That doesn't mean anybody else has to follow that route. But so one of the things that, when I was talking about where you're trying to find yourself in the inner knowing, the process, the knowing of the Christ self, we all have to walk the journey. It's just part of us. And pretty soon there'll be more people who will all of a sudden decide, oh, I guess I'm going to not eat meat today. Or, oh, gee whiz, maybe I'll become a vegetarian. Maybe, and I'll just eat fish with my food or whatever. And then you start changing. You start changing the way that that your body wants to function. And not everybody's going to do that. It doesn't always happen that way. And nobody expects anybody. I mean, I certainly don't. I don't expect people to do what I've done. I chose to do it because I have the time. I have everything that I need. I'm blessed. I mean, I don't need anything materially. So what else do I have? So I'm saying I'm gearing up and I want to be spiritual. I want to be as spiritual as I can get this body to be and be able to share that with people and know that it's okay. You don't have to be 100% all the time, but you do have to give it your best shot. And I don't know. I find myself, and I thought, okay, now I like bread, but I don't eat any bread. So I thought, well, what about if I were to take and get some whole wheat and make unleavened bread? So that's what I'm going to try to do. So because I don't eat any bread of any kind, and I'm thinking, that would be, I think, I think I could do unleavened bread in my system. I think it would be okay. Now, when somebody said, well, that's not, I don't really judge anybody else how they eat or what they do. I only try to figure out what works for Connie. And if it works for me, that's wonderful. But here I am. Now, some people, I found out this through studying, that when you do unleavened bread, you can do it on a baking sheet or you can do it on a cast iron skillet. Got to have that cast iron skillet. So I thought, well, I could go out and buy one brand new, but I thought, no, I want one that's already seasoned. I want one that's already been done. So I went to a thrift shop and I'm looking and I couldn't find one. I went to another thrift shop and I couldn't find one. And then I ran into a gal and she told me, she said, oh my, I just helped a friend of mine and we took all those cast iron frying pans over to this place in Clearwater. And she said, oh, now, and she told me how to get there and everything. And I said, well, at this time of day, there's no way I'm going there because the traffic is going to be crazy. So I'll get there tomorrow. So later today, I'm going to go up and check it out and see if I can get me a cast iron frying pan. But now those are just, and of course, and somebody said, how, Connie, at your age, why don't you have a cast iron frying pan? Well, I did, but I left it when I left Michigan. Somebody was saying to me, you're taking everything. I said, well, yeah, I'm the cook, So anyway, but I didn't take it. So I just said, okay, I'll figure that out later. And so then as time goes on, I thought, well, I don't need a cast iron frying pan right now. So now here it is. Something is said, well, how about unleavened bread? Well, we gotta have it. But then I saw a lady who actually made some unleavened bread, rosemary unleavened bread, and she did it on a cookie sheet, a flatbread. And I thought, well, I could try that. And so those are things that, you have to figure out. And so you say to yourself, I'm going to put together things that work for you. Not when I share these things, they're things that work for me. Now, they may not work for you, but when I'm sharing them, it's just like trying to open up your window there and say, oh, well, there's an alternative. I can do this. Or, gee, I don't want to do that. Well, that's fine. Nobody has to do it. It's just what works for you. Now, and I try not to be too judgmental. And one of the things that my kids, especially my daughter Chris, both of my girls are very intuitive, and they get things. And but who do they call? Mama. What's your take on this? And I'll just tell them it's pretty hard because I'm your mother. It's much easier, and I don't know about other mediums, but to read for someone you don't know, it's much easier than when it's somebody and because it's like, okay, because the heart is involved with folks that are close to you. And anyway, Christine called me last night and I said, okay, I'm stepping out of the box. I'm going to step out. And I said, now, I know you don't want to hear this, but this is it. And I gave her what I needed. And I said, now, whether you like it or not, this is what's going to happen. Now, this is the game. Now, I said, it's how you play it and how you want to do with it. Now, as your mother, I don't normally do these things, but for you, I think you need to hear it. So now I said, it's up to you. And I do the same thing with my other daughter, but she doesn't, she will do what she wants to do. She's an Aries. She don't listen to me, but she still goes out there and does what she wants to do. But both girls are and they're both fire signs. And so both girls are very strong-willed women. And so, I can only just guide and direct and be the conductor once in a while and try to orchestrate it and say, okay, this is what I think you need to be doing. But if you don't, that's okay too, because it's your journey. And that's the thing that we must remember. In our mystical experiences, this journey, and I know I said this when we opened the show, that your spiritual journey is with God. It's God's journey with you. It's God's journey with me. It's how we all pull it together and know that everything is perfect. We just have to get past all that other stuff and know that we are in divine order. If you put that in your mind, it all comes together. It's amazing. I mean, I would not have ever dreamed that I could heal myself and have my doctor say to me, Connie, you don't have to take any more medications. You've done a wonderful job. And so, and I'll see you in 6 months. Well, isn't that kind of cool? Yeah, it is. And to be able to share that with you folks, I get so excited because I think, golly sakes, if I can do that, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it if you set your mind to it and say, this is what I want. Because in the beginning of, it would be 2 years in April that I saw this new doctor. And he told me what I needed to do. And he says, it's all up to you, girl. What do you want to do? And he says, you can just not do anything. And I said, oh, no, I got a lot of living to do. And there's no way that I'm going to sit back and just ride this one out. Not this girl. So I had a father die of a massive heart attack, and I had my mother die of cancer. And so I really feel that it's absolutely so necessary for us that we know where we're going within ourselves. It's not important that you say, well, all my friends that I've kind of stepped away. I still go out with my friends. I still do things like last Saturday night. So they called me up, said, hey, we got a ticket. You want to go see Rocket Man? And I said, oh yeah, I would like to see. And he does Elton John. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. So, and we went and we went to Panera's, and I was able to eat at Panera's, believe it or not. I found something on that menu that worked. And I thought, oh, how cool is that? And so, and then we went to the show. We had a great time, and it was wonderful sharing with the girls. And a lot of them hadn't seen me in a long time, so hey, man, you're looking good. And I said, man, I'm feeling good. And they wanted to know about my blood work and all that kind of stuff. And I said, oh, yeah, I don't know yet. We'll know that next week. And so, consequently, I have some good news to share with them the next time I see them. But those are things that you are, as an individual, can do if you choose to do so. The awakening of your heart and your mind together. I know men think with this, women think with the heart, but you can bring them together. You can bring those two together and make them a wonderful experience. And know that no matter what you do in life, the one thing that is, it's hard, but you just say to yourself, okay, is to be able to sit. And I know, because it was hard for me in the beginning to sit and just sit in the quietness. Now, I know that, because I listen to Neshi a lot, And she'll say that when she gets up in the morning, she talks to her counsel. And I thought, oh, I like the way she talks about that, because I know that I have a spiritual realm around me. And I think I've shared this with you folks before, is that when in 1976 I had to have surgery, and when I came out of the anesthetic, or I remember my mother standing over me, and I looked, and I thought, oh, there's that man, but I had seen him when I was still under, and I thought, oh, yeah, it was a little Oriental man, little black cap on his head, long beard. And he sat there through the whole time I was in the hospital. He never left my bedside. And I said to my mom, I said, you see him? Because, my mom knew I could see. And I thought, well, maybe my mom can see him. And she said, see who? And I said, never mind. Because I thought I don't want to think I've gone off the deep end again. Maybe because of the drugs or whatever they put you out with. And I thought, no, this guy's for real. And so I knew that he is with me. And when I did my Reiki work, and I do my Reiki work, I know he's with me. And so it's wonderful to know that the spirit, that they show themselves to you. Your teachers will come to you when you need to see them, not 1 minute before. You can sit there and say, oh, I need to see. But they'll show themselves when it's the time, the right time. And you can say, oh, Connie, I want it now. Well, I'm a prime example of trying to say it takes time. And when you have busy lives, it's hard to keep yourself in that Christ state all the time, because you have things you have to take care of. Doesn't mean that you have to step out of the Christ consciousness. You hold it and you bring it with you. That's what you do. That's what you learn to do. That's that's the way it is. And it's an ongoing process. When I think back on the days when I was in the spiritual, when I was working in the church and doing minister, I was talking from the pulpit, doing readings from the pulpit, and doing one-on-one readings, and just coming and going. And I felt like there were so many folks that were so searching at that time, and that was 40 years ago, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, a long time ago. And so those processing that we all go through. And then I went for 30 years without doing anything. So you think, oh, what do you mean you were 30 years without doing anything? Well, I wasn't practicing. Doesn't mean the spirit left me. Oh, no. They were all over me all the time and telling me things. And when they as much as told me my marriage was over. And then I said, no, it isn't. That could not be happening. Not to this marriage. But he did end the contract. He ended it, and that was his choice, and that was fine. We got through it, and it was a hurtful thing. And I've shared that with you. But it's okay, because life is a whole bunch of lessons. We had good times. We had a lot of fun times. Love family. We had a lot of good times with the family and the kids and everything, and lots of friends. And the holidays, my house always had 30, anyway, at least 30 people in it for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, people were sitting all over the place, but that's the way it was. And it was fun. But sometimes that all has to come to a close, and you walk away. And the best thing that ever happened to me, and you've heard me say this many times, is the fact that I moved to Florida. I never thought I would ever leave the state of Michigan. Never. Just that's where I was. But now I'm here, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I've grown so much spiritually. I stepped away and I took a deep, hard look, and I said, look at all this. And knowing that everything of mine is in divine order. in divine love, in divine principle, and to know the oneness that is within it. It is the very heart of life. So when you're thinking about things and you're trying to search things out, know that you are the universe and you can experience anything you want to experience. It's just up to you. And knowing that the truth is within yourself. You can go in and God will tell you everything you want to need to know. He does. You just go in and you have to meditate. And by the way, next Tuesday night, Nessie's going to be leading us in that beautiful unity meditation. And I always try to get in on that because I always go someplace and it's really cool. And so I think, and I share that with you because I think it's a good place to be, and we all need that. And even though I do my own type of meditation and stuff, I love it when I can have the experience with somebody else and to share, because we're all connected. We're all, when I might be at my house meditating, but if you're at your house, we're all doing it at the same time. We're all getting that energy out there. And we're all sending that, and we're all hoping and taking that quiet moment within ourselves to identify with ourselves and to be able to say, yes, I am the seed of life. I am the tree of life. I am. Oh, and that's something else I forgot to share with you. In my meditation of that, when I fasted, it was like a maze. That's all I could describe it. Just air, and in the center was a square, and in the center was me. And then I turned into a tree, and then I turned into a cross. And that was pretty phenomenal. I thought, what is all that? Because I could see Connie as a little girl, and she grew into a tree, and then there was a cross. And I thought, well, how about that? So there's so many things that happened in that meditation that I'll probably be talking about that for a long time, because there's pieces Spirit will show it to me and say, you need to say this. And that's just what they did. They just showed it to me. So in our growth of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve in our Christ consciousness, don't get discouraged if things don't come together as you want them, because it takes time. And just know that you are loved beyond all. And you think, oh, nobody loves me. But oh, yes, they do. There's people that are on the other side that you can't see that absolutely love you to death. Your spirits, your guides. I have to share this with you because last week a friend of mine came and we did some channeling. And when all of a sudden I said, oh, I see an Indian full headdress standing here. And so then, of course, then it all started coming out, and I just rolled right on out. And it was just wonderful to know that the spirit, and of course I asked, I realized that I may end up speaking in tongues. And I said, no, I want it to come out in English because I don't have an interpreter here. And we have to know what's being said. And you have the right to ask that. So I did. And it did. It came all out just wonderful. And the words were, and my friend that was sitting there said, that was just absolutely great. And she could identify with everything that was being said. And I thought to myself, okay, that's all we care about. And those are the things that as we are channeling, one of the things that I was told one time, this was way back, maybe in the early spring, February, March. It was March, I think, because when we first started channeling, they said to me that I wasn't ready. They said, Connie, we have universal knowledge for you, but you're not ready. We're getting you, you've got some work to do. And so now here we are. Now, some of this stuff, before that, I probably would have done it in tongues because I didn't know I could ask. But now I know that I can say, I will allow you to speak if you want to use my vehicle, but it has to come out in English because we don't have an interpreter here. And bang, that's how it happened. So, but my guide is White Cloud, but I have another little guide out there, a Green Lily. And so we just have, we have people over there who love each and every one of us and want to help us. They're there. All we have to do is ask them for help. And they're saying, oh yeah, we want to help. And we'll help you in any way we can. And they give us that quietness. They'll help us with that. And, you say, well, how do I get to know these things? Well, it takes time. It takes a lot of work. And I'm trying to think. Just recently, back, it might have been March or April, maybe May. I had a doctor of philosophy, I think, come in, and his name was Moira. And so those are the things that it was given to me, and I thought, oh wow. So those are just things that we have to know that they are there for us, and knowing that our loved ones are there helping us. And when you think about life and you get discouraged, and let me tell you, I do not listen to the news. I can't. Now, I did hear what was going on in New York. I did hear that, and I thought, I can't listen to that because I believe everything is in divine order. So nothing bad's happened. So thank God for that. But everything is in divine order. Now, the fact is that nothing happened. That tells me everything is in divine order. But I can't listen to the news. I just can't. The only time I do listen to the news, and it'll be at the last minute, is if there's a hurricane. Because I'm in the hurricane country. And I got to make sure that if I need to be evacuating, I better be doing it. But those are the things that, anyway, so. And one thing I want to share with you is that when I go to the beach, and I got a few minutes here, I think, that I can do this. I go there because I can feel, and being that I lived in Michigan and I had Lake Michigan up there, I'll tell you, though, I did do this in Lake Superior, and I did get some results out of Lake Superior. But when I go to the Gulf, and I go and I stand in the sand, and I plant myself solid, and then I try to get my chakras and everything all lined up, and I'm standing there, and I try not to have any spaces open so that any negativity can come in. And then I just stand there in the quietness, and then when I reach my foot out and I stick it into that cold water, it's just like everything is sucked right out of me that's negative. And I raise my hands up and I praise God and I say, all right, we're working on this and we're getting it there. Now, that's what I do. Now, people might, and I've had people look at me at the beach like, as that woman, she's off on a mission here. But that's what I do, and I don't really care what anybody else thinks. But want you to know that you don't have to care what anybody else thinks. It's your journey, and you are the I am, the God in you. And I absolutely love each and every one of you. And don't forget, tonight is Carl and Arthur Franklin at 8:00. And I don't know what they're going to be speaking about, but that's always awesome. And they're great folks. And just tune in to their senior knowledge. And Carl's written a book, and it's always wonderful. So anyway, blessings be. And I don't know if I have any more time or not, but I'm out anyway. But anyway, and God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.